everyone, to another Design Ops Line podcast. And today's guest needs no introduction. If you're on LinkedIn, you would have seen him everywhere. And I'm glad he's actually honored us to come onto the show. And I'm really looking forward to our discussion. So welcome to the show, Thijs.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to dive in with you.
Thijs, do you want to give a quick introduction about yourself to people who might not have seen you around on LinkedIn?
So I'm Thijs Kraan. I've been writing on LinkedIn every day for the past 3 years because that's probably the reason you might have seen me across there sometime. And I'm currently focused on the design education space. So I'm trying to turn more design leaders into educators because I feel like design is in a place where there is a need for more education. And I feel like a lot of designers, experts in their field, and people who know a lot of this about design should come outside of their shell and really share the value of design and educate non-designers as well on what design can bring to organizations, because I'm a real believer that the next few years or generations will be heavily design focused, because the companies that are coming out of designers are usually, in my eyes, better, more sustainable, and just have a way higher bar for quality and focus on humanity and not just getting more revenue, while that also is a result of delivering value. So that's what I'm working on now.
Oh, nice. Thijs, I love it because that resonates with us, especially in Design Ops Line. One of our key things is trying to show businesses the value of design. And I think, we're hidden too much in the weeds to really show value. And I'm glad that you're doing that on LinkedIn. It really does resonate with myself. But Thijs, that wasn't the reason I brought you onto the podcast. And I think I'll set the scene on why I wanted to have this discussion with you. Um, and again, this is just my opinion. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong, and that's the whole point of this podcast. But I think over this year, and especially we saw it at the tail end of last year, is that a lot of people in the and I'll talk about design field. Let's not talk about the tech field in general. But a lot of people in the design field have lost jobs, due to many things, cost cutting, AI introduction, a lot surrounding the fact that design doesn't bring value and we're looked at as a cost center rather than a partner within the product roadmap. And the reason why I wanted to have this discussion with you is because a lot of people are a lot of people in the design field are starting to move into that freelance space. And so I wanted to have this discussion on how people who move into a freelance space can use LinkedIn to their best advantage to build their brand and identity.
Yeah. And that's the perfect reason to become a design educator, because that's what I notice. When you start sharing your expertise, you will get all types of opportunities coming to your door, and that it includes freelance opportunities. Whereas if you are planning to head into freelance or any other type of business, it just is very beneficial to have a distribution, as it could be an audience, could be an email list, could be like a network you already have. And just sharing your expertise grows that network. And by showing your expertise, you will get people interested in that expertise, which they will hire you for either on a contract basis or a full-time basis. And it is even more beneficial for people running their business, because you constantly have to educate your audience on the value you provide to them. And if that value is clear, it's like high up in the value chain. It's like helping them get more revenue, helping them decrease costs, and showing them how design contributes to those factors. It just makes it very easy for people to decide on whether they want to work with you or not. So yeah, if the value is just clear and you educated the people you'd like to work with on your value, then they are way more likely to work with you. And you will see that if you constantly educate people about your value, you will see all the metrics improve. So you will get more inquiries. The people who get inside of your call will be more trusting in you. So everything gets better. Like if you measure the entire chain from going to attention and eventually getting a client, if you measure everything and you start educating people about your expertise or value, then you will see all those metrics improve.
It's Thijs, it's such a hard one, and you must come across this. A lot of people say, I don't know what to write. I don't know what content to write because there's so many people out there who's going to be writing the same content that I'll go do. I can see you're smiling, ready to answer this question. But you know, you must hear it all the time. It's like there's so many content creators out there. Um, what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting off and does not know what to write?
Well, I actually am running a 50-person cohort right now, which helps people build a writing habit. And I noticed that exactly issue. Everybody struggles with that, or almost everybody struggles with that. But the answer I gave them is just keep it very simple. Like if you want to build a new habit, it just is very important to keep things simple because if you make it very complex, it will feel like a mountain and you won't start walking or start
Mhm.
or even get started. And in general, I just recommend look at what you're currently doing, look at the problems you're solving, look at the work you're delivering, look at the results you've generated, look at the stuff you're currently learning, look at the insights you've recently had that informed your current process. Like all those things are actively happening in your business or career. And by simply writing about what you're doing and whatever problem you're solving and how you're solving that for people who represent the people you'd like to attract, then you will, yeah, use that to inform your IDs. And I have this framework where it's like 24 ways you could write about your expertise, basically. And it could be like personal stories, it could be experiences, it could be perspectives on the industry, it could be
Mhm.
industry news, it could be resource lists, could be a lot of things. It's just that you want to be very clear to who you're writing. Like maybe you could pinpoint one person you'd like to attract for your business or
Mhm.
a job you'd like to attract, and then specifically write for that one person because that one person usually represents a larger group.
Yeah.
And you will quickly find out if that person is the right person you're writing to because you will see that in the results you get. So if you get the people to your door who you're not interested in, you're probably targeting the wrong people. And yeah, so you constantly try to figure out if the content is resonating with the right people. And if
Yeah.
your content performance is low or you don't get any results from it, it's either that you're targeting the wrong people or you're just not doing it for long enough. People often expect one post to result in a million impressions,
Yeah. Yeah.
tons of leads, and everything will go right with the first post, but that's usually not the real reason.
Yeah.
I started with this 30-day challenge as well, and like the first 30 days I had almost no results, like less than 10k views, way less, like 5k. And then
Mhm.
on day 31 I got more results than that past 30 days.
Oh,
So it
okay.
often just takes time to find this one hit that improves your average by a lot.
Yeah.
And over time, you will find more of those hits and you can repurpose those hits to get very similar performance.
But then I love that you just brought that point because that's one of the biggest things that content creators or generally people that come into content creation always struggle with. It's like, I've been doing this for like 2 weeks now. I'm getting 10 views or 10 impressions, and they tend to drop off, and it's really disheartening because they put so much effort into that content and they get zero and they keep doing it day in, day out. As mentioned, they're trying it for like 2 weeks, they're getting nothing, and then they just fall off the bandwagon. Now, what would you say to people who are going to experience this um, during this kind of journey of content creation?
Well, first off, I think perspective is very important here. You have to understand that content is a long-term game.
Mhm.
Like over time, I have this graph where you will see that your effort will reduce after you write for longer, but your assets like your audience, your email list, they will increase. So the impact of the writing you will do will get more reach and more
Yeah.
results for you. And then at the same time, when you're writing, you will basically put your thinking on paper. And when you put your thinking on paper, you will see like, oh, I didn't understand it as well as I thought I did.
Yeah.
Because if you really understand something, the writing just comes out of you and it will look good. But when you don't understand something, it will take a lot of mental effort to get that writing on paper. And you will see a lot of gaps in your thinking. And this thinking informs what you're going to learn next. At least it does for me. So if I'm
Yeah.
writing if I want to write about something that I know the person I'm trying to write for wants to read or needs to know, then I try to write that, and I will notice I don't have X, I don't have Y, I don't have Z, and that
Mhm.
informs what I'm researching next. And often
Ah,
over time, you will build a huge content library, and you can just pick something there, you can pick something there, and then you
yeah.
can pick something there, and your cost of producing a new LinkedIn post or whatever post will reduce drastically. So over time, it starts compounding because it gets easier. Your
Hmm.
results get delivered faster because you have an audience or other distribution assets. And then third, your expertise will increase because you're constantly learning new things. You have to know to educate your audience.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like a very positive cycle, and you have to think the long term. So it's not about doing it a few weeks, it's about doing it a few years at least.
Do you
And
think
that's
that's
hard
where?
for some
Yeah,
people.
that's what I was about to say. Do you think that's what it is? Like, do you think a lot of people who are watching this content, they're like, oh, they make it look so easy and stuff like that, and they're expecting really high results very, very quick, and not really understanding that it is a long-term game. And you have to do the hard graft in the beginning to then see, like you just mentioned, it'll be easier later on and quicker for yourself, but you have to really grind in that beginning state in order to really start building traction. Do you think this is what's happening with people nowadays that are watching content? They're being missold on the idea on how to create content.
Yeah, I think the best indicator of someone's expertise is they make it look easy. But usually, to make it look easy, it's actually very hard. Like if you
Hmm.
want to say something very meaningful, impactful, in a very simple, concise, and new way, it's very hard.
Hmm.
And that's often unconsidered. And I hear a lot of my clients often tell me, like, whoa, I didn't know so much work goes into producing this. Like, if you look at the best players in any type of expertise, you will see the amount of preparation is way more than someone who's beginning. But
Yeah.
that preparation gets easier over time because you will have more things to draw from. You will have more audience insights. You will have more writing done.
Hmm.
You will have more research done. You will have just way more ways to start from. And
Yeah.
also a lot of tools you can use within your future to basically repurpose it.
Tice, I'm going to take a stab at something. You posted up something the other day on LinkedIn about don't post to things like and there was a whole list of different other platforms. We don't need to gaslight them. It's not about the question is not about gaslighting, but the context was about you have a better presence in this field, especially in design field, to post on LinkedIn, and you put a lot of importance in that post that the benefits of posting on LinkedIn. Can you just delve into that for a sec? Like, why is it so important that LinkedIn is the best place other than other platforms, in your opinion?
Yeah, so there are tons of platforms to get started on. But what I learned when starting, I've been starting content for like 9 years. I've been learning and studying it because I had this YouTuber friend who made like 20K a month at age 19, and he was just creating YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So I tried Twitch streaming, which ended up not really resonating because I'm not very good at keeping people entertained in the short term.
Yeah.
Second, I tried YouTube content, and it's about personal development. I was nerding out on that. And I quickly realized creating videos is a lot of effort, and everything eventually comes down to the quality of the script.
Hmm.
So then I started a business and I started selling services. Everything came from referrals. And then I tried Instagram content as well. And I was spending so much time on making pretty visuals that I eventually also realized it comes down to the quality of the IDs in the visuals, not the actual
Yeah.
visuals themselves. So
Yeah.
again, writing. And then I came back to writing. I wanted just to become a better writer. And
Mhm.
then I noticed a friend on LinkedIn. He just had a very simple, small network. He just connected with people he knew and met in real life or at events. And those people just gave him opportunities. He wasn't even posting content. And that was my first signal. Okay, LinkedIn is something that works for people, even if you don't produce content on there. So that's one of the benefits I saw. And then I also noticed like all decision makers are there to find new people. They're trying to recruit people. So
Hmm.
it's also a job opportunity platform. There are like 65 million decision makers who are pretty active on LinkedIn. And then there's generally just a large base of users. Currently, there are like 1 billion plus users on there. That's a lot of people,
Yeah.
which
That's.
134 million are daily active as well.
Hmm.
So that's just a lot of attention you can get. And then for me, the most important part is to have a very low bar in terms of getting something out there. And if you look at Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, they're all driven by video. So you have to produce video to be relevant on those platforms. And that means you will also need to do the writing, but you will also need to do the editing. You will need to do the shooting, and you can't quickly edit things if you want to. And that's why I started on LinkedIn, because you can get away with writing alone. You don't have to produce video there to get high performance. And now X is also a good alternative.
Hmm.
But in general, I think LinkedIn is just the first place people come to check your status, sort of. If people
Yeah.
are thinking of hiring you, or if people are just looking you up to who's this person, what is his background, is he relevant to me or not, they
Yeah.
will quickly search your LinkedIn and like, oh, what work experience does he have? And when they come on your LinkedIn and you have a large audience, you have relevant content to those people, and you
Hmm.
have your profile just designed like a very strong landing page, then it's just a great place to, yeah, basically solidify your presence and really build the asset starting there. And it's
Yeah.
a social platform that works very well. It's focused on value. So people are used to being educated on expertise or other topics. And that's why I think LinkedIn is the best place to get started.
It's it's such a I'm going to take a stab at something else. It's so hard to stand out when there's, as you just mentioned, the numbers of people that are on there. And I think me and you have gone back and forward with kind of like a discussion about this. But what would you say, from your opinion, is like the must-haves to build a standout profile on LinkedIn? Like, what do you think are the necessary things you need in order to really get attention to your content as well as to your profile from your perspective?
Well, generally, I think it's hard to make your profile stand out if you don't stand out. So it's first figuring out what makes you stand out. Like, what are things I'm interested in? What are things I'm very good at? What are things I love doing and feel like play to me? That you really understand, like, this is what I do. This is the value I bring to the table. And this is what I uniquely do. This is who I am. This is me, sort of. And it
Yeah.
also feels very cringe often, like people will say, like, just be yourself. But that's the game of content as well. Over time, you will become yourself more, sort of. At the beginning, you're very like professional, trying to keep everything, just PJ-13 or how you call it.
Yeah.
And you will
Yeah.
see people who are later in the content game, they're all like, yeah, or like Elon Musk, I'm sitting on the golden throne right now. And people are just
Yeah.
getting more unique and authentic by just sharing the real themselves instead of a version they think of themselves. So it's figuring out who is that you really are, and how and what resonates most with the person or people or audience you're trying to attract.
Mm.
And then basically designing sort of a value proposition for those people, and then designing your LinkedIn profile around that value proposition to
Mhm.
give people the proof necessary to make a decision on whether they should engage with you, get one of your resources, shoot a message, follow you. And yeah, because that's what everything stems from, you basically. And that's what I also have within my framework, is just figuring out, this is who I am. This is the
Mhm.
category I want to be part of. This is the audience I'm targeting. This is the problems they experience. This is the obstacles they face. These are the outcomes they want to achieve or avoid. And that's basically what you design your LinkedIn profile around. Like, if you do brand work or brand design, then if people come on your profile, show all the brand design in the banner. Make a
Yeah.
make a headline which says like, I did brand design, or I do brand design for X audience, and just make it very clear who you're targeting, what you do, and ideally also show as much proof as possible. Like, just, I worked with these types of brands, I got these types of results. I
Yeah.
worked at Google, Spotify, and Amazon. I did brand design at X, Y, and Z. Then you just build a lot of trust with your profile. And if you also have a resource that says like how to get started with brand design, or 7 brand design strategies that you can get for free, here you go.
Yeah.
You just make it very relevant to the people you're trying to attract.
Tyson, you just mentioned something. I want to delve into this because this is something that resonates with me. Well, something I see a lot. And you mentioned keep it PG-13, keep it professional. But I have seen some people go, as you say, not crazy, but they do vent on LinkedIn. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Thijs. Like, I'll give you my 2 cents. I personally think, as you mentioned, LinkedIn is a very professional profile, and you should keep that professional, manner about it. Yes, you can voice your opinion, which is key. I guess that shows your true identity. But venting, would you would you say that's the right platform to vent?
I would recommend venting in private and
Yeah,
just trying to keep
exactly.
it positive in
Yeah,
public.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm also in this community where there's like a venting channel.
yeah,
So there's a lot
yeah.
of creators in there who vent there about things they're experiencing. And then that's also a way to blow steam instead of doing it in public. Do you vent in public, or do you also
No,
keep it
I don't
private?
vent in public. I think, one thing I don't do. I mean, look, I'm very opinionated, and I think I'm
That's good.
opinionated. Yeah, I'm opinionated on the design front because my opinions about let me take it 2 steps back in a sense. I'm opinionated about how design has not been given the chance to show its value. And I'm very opinionated that product managers see us as a tool rather than as a partner, and working with them. And that's something I'm very kind of like passionate about that, you know, and it's not, I don't put the blame solely on product managers. I also play devil's advocate and say designers have not done a good job in showing businesses the value of design. We've been speaking a different language, and I think that language with business has clashed. And I think that's why I started up Design Ups Line to teach people the value of what design can bring, but translate that language into a business context. So it may come across like gaslighting, but I never solely put the blame on one thing. I always say it's a combination of different things. But again, I don't see that as venting. I see that as a very opinionated aspect in our culture and career. You know?
Yeah. And I think that's very important to do. And what I like to look at it, if you're very angry, try to channel that emotion into writing or educating the person you're trying to convince.
Yeah.
Like, it always works better when somebody's like so energetic, or like, this is, why don't you see this? If somebody says it to you, like,
Yeah.
why don't you do it? Then people are like, why don't I do it?
Yeah.
And you want to channel that emotion sort of in your writing. And that's very hard to write with emotion without attacking someone. And
Hmm.
that's just a skill as much as all the other tiny sub skills you need to produce something that people want to read and that triggers people.
Yeah.
And being, like you mentioned, opinionated, that's very important, because people don't resonate with data. They don't resonate with like, we got 1 billion users. They recommend with the one user that has been through so much pain, and his entire life went to shit, sort of, because they didn't do this one thing. And you're
Yeah.
like, why didn't you do that one thing? And you want to trigger that in your writing
Yeah.
and just make it like you're all in on the
Yeah.
thing you're sending, but also mentioning there's, of course, a lot of nuance to this stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't want to add all the nuance, because then you will get a book on your LinkedIn post, which also often doesn't help. But
Okay.
yeah, I think it's very important to have that emotion in your writing and being very opinionated about it, but not making the other person feel attacked, but more like, oh, he's really thinking about this stuff a lot, and he really wants the best for me, and he just doesn't understand why I do this thing. And I think that
It's
that's an art, but it's very
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
powerful.
It's an art. It's as you mentioned, and that actually ties into my next question. it is an actual art. I'll be honest with you. People say, "Oh, yeah, you can learn design in 3 months." No, you can't. You can learn some fundamentals, but to really, really be good at something, I think, especially in this design field, it takes time. You can learn the basics, but it takes time to be a really good designer. It takes time to be a really good content creator. And do you think, like, with these AI tools, and I'll give you an example of one I was messing around with. It's called Taplio. And Taplio builds your hook, it builds your the actual content. And really and truly, it didn't resonate with me because it wasn't really getting my message across. It was like, doing all the work for me, but not really, it wasn't really helping me in expanding my skill. It was helping me get content out. That's great, and we just need to keep the posts up. But what would you say to people who are now diverging to using these type of tools to help them write?
Uh, I understand it. It seems like the easy route because it is the easy route. You just you basically delegate your thinking and your writing to some AI tool who's
Hmm.
trained on the average of what everybody does, which makes it not authentic at all. It doesn't make it unique to your context, and it doesn't show the emotion you have
Hmm.
towards specific IDs, which matter a lot. And it doesn't weigh your expertise well because you've lived the expertise, you've seen the results, but an AI model doesn't have that context, or you have to give it all that context, which is an entire new skill by itself.
Yeah.
So you basically still, then again, it comes back to writing.
Hmm.
Like the quality of your prompt will inform the quality of your writing. And if you don't know what good writing looks like, or how to do good writing, or how to edit good writing, then you won't produce good writing.
Yeah.
And if you don't learn that skill by yourself and just writing the thing yourself, then you will also produce mediocre outputs. When I use I don't do it in short form. I'm way faster than AI in terms of writing short form. But
Hmm.
when I'm writing long form, I use more AI.
Yeah.
And also within short form, but usually only for ideation purposes. So I want to say something, but I want to say it in a way that's different than the way I have in my head. Then
Yeah.
I will write it out first, and then I will pick something specifically in my writing that I'm like, this doesn't feel right. I want new ideas of how I can write this. And then I will get 10 different ways to do something different in that writing. And then I will change that one tiny part of the writing. But the entire writing is usually done by me.
Yeah.
Or you will give it a lot of context first, like for when I'm writing email courses, then I will write the entire day myself, always to nail my language. And I will make a very large prompt, like a huge one.
Yeah.
People think it is usually this one, but it's like usually like 3 or 4 pages in terms of the prompt I put in to get any decent outputs.
Wow.
And that's just, yeah, that has to come in. You have to give all that context. You have to understand what the structure of good writing looks like to
Hmm.
let it do good writing for you. And even then, it gives you like the first 80%, but the last 20%, you have to do it yourself. You have to optimize it. You have to give it more context. You have to rewrite sentences that don't make sense, that don't align with your expertise, that write to the wrong audience, because there's so much nuance that a robot or AI doesn't have because it doesn't have the context. You
Hmm.
can't give him everything that's inside your head because we don't know what's inside our head. It usually comes out of it randomly.
Yeah.
And that's what we don't optimize for when we use AI because we delegate that thinking, we delegate that emotion, we delegate literally everything to someone who doesn't understand us as well as we do ourselves.
So would you say AI is good in just like the fine tuning, but you still have to come back to the basis of, if you're writing content, write it from yourself and just let the AI just tweak it up in some sense?
No, I like to see that I'm the person in control of the robot. It's just another tool I can use. But
Okay.
I am the one who directs everything. I'm the one who writes everything basically, or puts everything on the right place. So it's giving you the first 80%, but you're fine tuning the last
Yeah.
20% to get it
Yeah.
right. But if you start off on the wrong foundation and you basically give it something and it will give you the wrong foundation and you think, oh, I'm just going to add that wrong foundation, then
Hmm.
it's still a bad foundation.
Yeah.
So that's why I usually recommend starting with something yourself and trying to get high quality writing out first and your thinking done,
Yeah.
instead of letting the AI do your thinking. So it could mean like outlining your entire post, like this is what I want to say, this is what I want inside here, this is the outcome I want to achieve, this is who I'm writing to, this is how I want to structure it, talking about these ways, these stories, these tips, these mistakes, and all these ways that I want to talk about, and then let AI do sort of the filler work, like
Yeah. Yeah.
bridging all those things. But then you've done all the thinking already, and that's the hard part.
Enjoying the content? Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram for more updates. Your support helps us bring you even more great content. Now let's get back to our podcast.
I love it because, I think the art of writing, again, that's just my personal ability. I think the art of writing has skipped that generation. I think writing in my generation was very, very important, but I've noticed, and that's just my view and opinion, I think a lot of people in this next generation have kind of skipped that. Because, if you ask like how many people really read a book, they'll be like, no, I just listen to the audio tape, or, I use an app just to get all the kind of clip notes. And I think the art of writing is such a complicated thing. It's not as simple as everyone thinks. It really does take a lot of learning. And then what would you say to people who are really, really bad at writing? What would you say to them to really hone their skills and to practice in order to be someone like you, Thijs? Because you put really great content. I love it, and it's, as you mentioned, it's the short form contents ones that really really captivate me in some sense. You write some really great prose that are just like short form, and it's punchy. It hits to the point, but I could imagine that's not as simple as you say it is. It takes a lot of work to do that. So what would you say to people who are just not confident about their writing skills?
Well, first, thank you. That's very nice to hear. And yeah, people often, just like if you're a good designer, you probably put thousands of hours in your design practice. And how can you expect the same in your writing practice if you haven't put in those thousands of hours?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that's very important to me, and that I also always recommend. Like, it takes quantity to get to quality. So you have to produce a lot of writing, basically, or do a lot of writing to train that muscle. And you have to keep doing that until you hit or produce content or share things that resonate. And that informs your next post, basically. So you have to keep writing. And I always recommend to always also publish that writing or share that writing with people who need that writing, because then you will get feedback on your thinking, on your writing. And you want to keep the feedback loops as short as possible, basically. And social platforms provide the shortest feedback loop there is. You put something out and people will see it directly, or it will get sent to people who it might be relevant for. And they are giving you directly back, like, this is good or this is not good, based on their engagement, based on the view counts. And that is not always that good writing gets high engagement. That's not necessarily the case, but it does help you inform your writing. So what you mentioned around that design is also a very hard thing to sort of to show the value of, because it's very qualitative in a lot of ways. There are a lot of things we can't measure, and we have to basically make a bigger bet for the future that it's eventually going to catch up and people eventually are going to understand it. But you can't measure that in the beginning. The results usually come at the end. And I think the same goes for writing. It's a very creative skill, whereas there are a lot of ways to quantify it, but eventually the production is very qualitative. So you really have to make a bet of this is going to resonate, and then you can use the quantitative measures to inform whether people like it or not, or people resonate with it. And yeah, that's how I like to think it, to really try to write a lot and treat it as a long-term game.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to write, I'm going to change my identity into becoming a good writer. That's my goal, sort of. And trusting that doing that will eventually result into more good things later on. That's how I started. My first year was purely focused on becoming a better writer. So I just did a lot of writing, and slowly I became better. The results became better. Everything became better. And you just have to put in the quantity, the years of practice. And years might sound like a lot. You can also get a lot of results at the beginning. That's why I usually share like templates or frameworks or prompts for people to get started.
Yeah.
And that just gets better over time. So once you have a hit, you will have more information of what makes a hit.
Yeah.
And over time, you just have to put in a lot of work, and eventually it will come to you. And if you're not willing to do the work, then you are also very unlikely to get the results you want.
But Thijs, what would you say to people that kind of get to a point of regurgitating content? Because I think we all get to that point where I've said this before, and am I going to get picked up about saying it again? You know, and my two senses is like, regurgitated content in some sense is people might have seen it like a year ago, but their attention span and memory span is very, very short. So regurgitating content is actually fine in some sense. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's what everybody thinks. But if you look at life, we've had the same problems for thousands of years.
Yes.
Like we are basically facing the same problem every single day, like how we interact with people, how we feel about stuff. Like maybe we're not feeling good, and then usually I really resonate with the Stoics. So those ideas are like 2,000 plus years old.
Yeah.
But they still work. And they are very simple, and they feel like cliches, but they're often cliches for a reason. And I think the trick in writing is trying to say the same things in 1,000 different ways to make it land with different people. And also realizing that you publish something. I have a 37K audience right now, but if I publish something, only less than 5% usually sees it. So a very small percentage actually sees your content. So why wouldn't you republish it later on if it's a good idea, if it resonates with people, if it helps people, and really trying to see it that way. Whereas you're just trying to educate people, and you're not trying to be an influencer. You're just talking about this is what matters to me and this is why it matters. And you also have to reinforce that why it matters to you over and over again for you to build a brand. Because usually if you want to build a brand, it just takes a long time. Like Apple wasn't the brand it is right now over a span of 1 year. It's about all those tiny interactions you had with Apple over a span of 10 plus years. That's what really built the brand of Apple in your mind. And that's why you choose an iPhone over an Android. Yeah. And that's really how it works with you as well. Like the more people interact with you or have touch points from you, the more reference points people have around who you are. And if they are consistent over time, people will associate you with that. So if you talk about one thing over 10 plus years, people will start recognizing you for that one thing.
Okay. Wait.
And that's how I like to see it.
Let me backtrack what you just mentioned. So let me take this question in a different way. So you mentioned don't become an influencer. Don't build a brand behind yourself, because as I mentioned, it takes time and stuff like that. So would you say that people that are creating content shouldn't have that mindset, I'm trying to be an influencer, that they should just be in the mindset that I'm creating content on problems that I'm facing on a day-to-day basis and this is how I solve it, rather than, hey, I'm an influencer, I'm good at this, I'm good at this. Do you see where I'm going with that kind of question?
Yes, I think, but you are trying to build a brand, sort of. Your reputation is basically, in my eyes, your brand. Like how you're seen by people, that's your personal brand. I don't really like the term myself. I just think it's sort of your reputation. And when you're publishing things online, you're taking your offline reputation into an online reputation, which usually people associate with a personal brand. And in terms of the problems you solve, if you want to attract other people, you want to talk about their problems. People don't care about you in general. They just want you to help them. And if you can help them well, they will associate that positive value with you. And that's the way I think you build a personal brand, is to be associated with the right things, associated with value. So people see you as the person who always gives me free value over and over again. He's giving me all those bumps and I'm making hundreds of millions of dollars from this person.
Yeah.
If people associate that with you,
Yeah.
then you will have a very strong brand in their mind. And that makes them way more likely to want to work with you or hire you. And that's why I think it's a very important thing. And in terms of not being an influencer, people, like I mentioned, people don't really care about, maybe they do care a little bit about who you are, but they especially care about what you can do for them and how you make them feel. And that's what you want to zoom in on in trying to be very clear about your personal values, because often we aren't very clear about it. I'm not very clear about that. And those things change over time as well. And just being clear about, this is who I am, this is what I care for, this is what I stand for. And being very clear about that and make it very aligned with who you actually are and what you actually think, like being yourself, which is very hard, and being yourself in a way that is valuable to other people. And that over time builds your brand. And in terms of I skipped over the point. In terms of being an influencer is usually like, look at me, this is what I'm doing.
Exactly.
People, and that works to get a lot of attention. Like if you are a very rich person, you will show your grandiose life. You will drive in fancy cars. You will show your watches. You will go to, it's like the National Hall. It's like he's doing all those fun things, like trying to show off, basically.
Yeah.
And that works to get a lot of attention. But when you're trying to get clients or a job, you want to be associated with value. And being an influencer only will work in the long term if you're going for sponsorships. And that could be your goal. Yeah. That's totally fine. But I don't usually recommend it for people trying to build a professional brand. I don't want to become famous. I want to become famous for the people I serve, because that works better for me. And that means I have to be a design educator, educating people about my stuff, my value, why they should get started with sharing expertise, for example. Yeah. And that's why I try to position around. That's the brand I'm trying to create in people's minds. Like, Thijs is the person who helps me share expertise. Thijs is the person who helps me get more clients. Thijs is the person who helps me get attention. Thijs is the person who helps me make more money. Like, if I want to be associated with those types of things, not being associated with my fancy routine. If I have watches, I don't have watches. I don't buy that stuff. But I don't do that. But it could be something your audience cares about, and it works. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't want to be an influencer. I want to be an educator.
Thijs, that's such a brilliant statement that you mentioned. I love that one. I don't want to be famous. It's an absolute, it's an absolute star statement, because, you're very honest. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be shown, but I want to be known as somebody who brings value. And I think that's what the key message is. I think, like, if you are posting on LinkedIn and you are looking for that kind of influencer aspect, then it might not be the right place. But then it ties into this question I wanted to ask you, because I heard LinkedIn is now changing their algorithm. And I'm sorry, we didn't talk about algorithm because that's a podcast in itself, yeah. But they're now changing their algorithm to support more short videos, so they're trying to push into that TikTok area. And so it comes to the question, should people really be focusing on that now, like in short form content, or should they still be looking at writing content to bring value to their audience, from your perspective?
Yeah, so I think it's a very good observation. I actually talked to the LinkedIn video team who actually is designing LinkedIn, and I asked them about this specifically. How is video prioritized? Will this change the priority in terms of writing? Will LinkedIn still be a writing first platform? And they're like, we're not going to deprioritize text only content, but we are moving towards a video first strategy, because video is more engaging. Video just keeps people on the platform longer. So LinkedIn is incentivized to keep people longer on their platform because they will earn more money with it. So yes, I am also thinking about moving more into video, because I produce one video and I can post it on every single platform. But still, if I work with a lot of creators as well, I talk to a lot of creators and I talk to a lot of designers who are doing this as well. And all the best video creators, they usually all have like a very extensive script moment to start writing the script for their short form post or their long form video. Everything still comes down to the quality of writing. And now that's why I also think like you should move now. Now you're still incentivized to produce writing first content, because now you're not competing against those very strong engagement factors from video. That's what it's moving towards. If you're very good at video, you will get attention from all the right people. But that all starts with having a very strong foundation of doing good writing, doing good thinking, getting the right ideas out. And now you're still, if you write right now, if you only produce writing first content and just only have writing in your post, not a visual, not a video, not anything, you can still get performance. So you're still rewarded for doing writing, but that will change over time. I think it will change over time because video is just more engaging and it makes sense. But to produce good video, you have to do good writing or good thinking. And
100%.
That's why I recommend starting now, because then you are still rewarded for your writing efforts and you will be way more likely to produce good writing because you will get good feedback by publishing your writing. And I don't think people are still reading books, so I don't think it will ever change. So,
Definitely.
But video is just more engaging and it makes sense. You have way more information to convey than just in text. So,
Thijs, you know, man, we've spoken for 50 minutes. Jesus, I didn't even know. I just looked at the time. Thijs, we're now coming up to the end of the show. And I want to get your 2 cents. I don't know if we're legally allowed to say it, but you know, let's go for it and let's see if I have a court summoning. But you know, I tend to mess around with the algorithm for LinkedIn, especially with our podcast posts. So one of the key things is don't put in a link to YouTube videos on your LinkedIn post because the algorithm stops here. You know, it's something that a lot of the content creators in our network talk about, that you tend to post something up and then you try to put the links in the comments. It's what we all do. I think all of us do this, especially in the content field. Is there any kind of tips that you can give the audience on getting a good hit, just from your opinion, without us being legally taken to court?
Yeah, in terms of algorithms, I always recommend don't focus on the algorithm, focus on the audience, focus on the user. That's what the algorithm is designed for. So if you're chasing the algorithm, you're chasing the wrong thing because it's made for users. So if you focus on the users, you're way more likely to produce what the algorithm wants, value for the users. And in terms of getting clicks, so if you want more clicks, then you should you should make the click as easy as possible. Yes, the algorithm deprioritize or probably what's it called, like damages reach. But I usually recommend taking the reach hit if you want clicks, because if you want clicks in your comments, LinkedIn now also tracks views in your comments. You will see that the amount of views on your comment is like only 5%, maximum 5% of the post's impressions. And if you don't have the link in your content, then you will not get all those clicks from those other views. So for myself and for my clients, I just put the link in the post itself, because then people read it and then they can directly click on the link. It's the easiest, it's the most straightforward. And I also talk to the LinkedIn team to optimize for this, to make this easier. And they're not incentivized to get people off their platform, but that's why it does damage reach. But that's why I also have a more nuanced strategy where not everything has a link, but only 20% of your posts, for example, have links. And I've had posts for clients who got like 4,000 plus clicks just because I left it in the post. And it got like still 50K to 100K impressions. Maybe it could have been more. People always say like, oh, yeah, if you have a link in the post, it will harm reach by 20%. But there's no way to test it. There's no way to run those experiments. You can run 2 posts at the very same time, serve it to the very same people. You can A/B test it. There's no possibility to do that within LinkedIn. So every science or things you read on LinkedIn about the algorithm are just bad bets often. People don't have actual data of how the algorithm is actually prioritizing those things.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a way of reasoning to think about, yeah, you're sending people off LinkedIn. Of course, LinkedIn is not going to promote that.
Yeah.
But in terms of if you want more people off your platform, then just put it in your post. Just be a little bit more strategic around it. Just have 4 posts that have a lot of reach, that get people to your profile, where you also put all those links.
Yep.
But also in some of the content to say like, okay, well, or if you're talking about like a post that talks about sharing expertise, I could give like an entire list of 7 points of how you can get started. If you want to dive deeper into all those 7 steps and learn exactly how you can do this, click this link. Then people are way more incentivized to, and then they're in the flow of reading and like, okay, I want to read more. And then they will click on it. And then they will read your article. And at the bottom is, oh, if you want this, then sign up here. And they will sign up. And then they will receive something else. And they will go, you want to keep the flow going. So if they're in the way of reading it and they are very interested in learning more about this thing, then you want to make it as easy as possible for them to do the next thing. And if you don't do that, if you say like, go to my link in the comments, then people are like, oh, then I have to go to the comments.
Yeah.
And people are not going to do that. Maybe if they're very interested, but you will lose like 50% of the clicks if you put it in the comments.
Man, you just solved one of my issues. Like I always do the link in the comments. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, any future videos, just click on the post. Just don't go into the comments. So go for it, guys.
Point of nuance is there. If you have video, it is different because they are optimizing for it right now, so you can click directly. That's what they mentioned.
Yeah.
So it might change in the future. I don't have access to those features yet because I'm not in the US. They're releasing those things there first.
Okay.
But in general, it's different than text only. If you have text only, people will read it and they can click the thing. It just makes more sense. But if you're watching a video, you have to click on see more, and then you have to go through all the text, and then you have to click the link. So for video, it might actually be different, and there's more nuance to it. So I always recommend test it for yourself, try it out. And also don't always trust the bro science on LinkedIn.
Yeah. But I mean, my last question to you, Thijs, is there like, I know you say post once a day, yeah, but is there a maximum like of how much you should post in a day from your perspective?
And generally, I recommend 3 times a week. That's like minimum bar I usually recommend, having like 1 post that focuses on brand building, 1 post that focuses around building trust with your existing audience or brand, and then 1 conversion post if you're trying to build your business that focuses around converting your audience into email subscribers, calls, or actual product sales. And could you get back to the question one more time?
I mean, you always hear about people saying post at least once a day. But I actually wanted to ask you, is there a maximum to post? Like, should somebody post 4 times a day? But you're mentioning post 3 times a week. So really and truly, posting every day is not really that beneficial.
No, I'm not trying to say that. I think you want to, if you can, produce 5 posts a day. If you can, if they're very high quality, all high quality. If you can do that every day, post as much volume as possible. And if you see a decrease in reach, then stop in improving value or volume.
Yeah.
But if you improve volume, the usual case is that the general quality will go down.
Okay. Yeah.
And in terms of reach and performance, yes, you will take probably a hit. But if you do more posts, the overall thing will increase, but the average will decrease because it's hard to produce a lot of quality posts every single day. It's very hard. So that's why I usually recommend 3 a week, because that's way easier to maintain for people who are having a full-time job, trying to balance a lot of client work, trying to get this thing done. Then it usually takes like 1 to 4 hours to get those posts every single week. Whereas if you want to produce 5 posts every single day, I've seen people who do like 3 posts a day and they get way more reach. They just get more reach, because that shows to me that it's possible. And there's no limit to how much you can post, I think, but there's a limit to how much value you can produce. And I think you have to find what's good for you by doing more until you see more isn't working anymore. Then you start to do what you're already doing and you're trying to do it better. just to get it done. It's like the Alex Hormozy thing is just a more, better, new. So first you want to do a lot more of something, then you see what's working and you do the things better because you've learned. And then once you're able to do things better and you see the average quality increase and maybe decrease, then you do something new again. And then you do more of the new thing. So it's like a cycle you go through.
Oh, nice. Man, Titus, I've been speaking to you for like an hour now, and there's so much information you've just given to me that I can just digest and dissect, and we can talk for ages. But
That's a topic that you may have noticed.
Yeah, that's why that's why I wanted to bring you on the show, because I know you're very knowledgeable in this, and I'm not just saying this because you come on the show. It is the case that I've seen the posts that you post up. You do talk about a lot of aspects in the design field as well, but you also mentioned how to build your presence on LinkedIn, and that all came down to that first question, because my personal belief is a lot of people are gonna start moving into freelance due to the fact the job market is not great in tech.
Everybody should.
So yeah, no, I think they should, absolutely. I think that's my personal belief. I think the tech field is not as safe as we thought it was like 10 years ago, and I'm showing my age by doing this, but it's the truth. We've seen so many layoffs, and people now need to start thinking, if they are going to build a presence about freelance and you're going up against loads of other people, well, then how are you going to differentiate yourself against all of them? And that's why I wanted to bring you on the show, Ty. So we're going to have another podcast. I'm definitely going to bring you back on. But Ty, to anyone that's listening to this podcast, again, please drop your comments down below if anything has resonated. I will forward all these questions to Tice. If anything has that you want to ask him, well, generally we'll put a link to his LinkedIn profile. But I want to give the audience a chance to, when would be the right time to come and see you, Tice? Imagine, they want to take your expertise or they want to use you for their company. When would be the right time, and how would they approach you?
I think there's a right time for everyone, and some people just need to consume my free content for a long time to understand the value of doing this stuff. But in general, I think now is always the best moment to get started if you want to start with something. We all know this saying, like, I'll start tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes the day after. And the day after becomes a week after. And then a month later, and then a year later. Oh, we were supposed to start with that thing and it's not happening.
Yeah,
that's what I noticed as well. So I have a few ways people might engage with my content more. Is if you go to my LinkedIn profile or to my website, I'm building a platform that shares curated business building insights for designers. So that's what I'm building right now. I have a free 5-day LinkedIn growth strategy email course. It just explains everything to start doing that stuff for yourself. I have a product as well that people can do it in themselves. It's called Expertise OS. And then I also have private one-on-one services if people don't have the time to do it themselves, or they can't seem to get started, or just need a push in the back. Then, they can get in touch with me or look at my website at what I have to offer. I help people with setting up basically the conversion mechanism, which goes from getting that first view to becoming a client. What does that look like, that entire process? What do you measure? How do you structure everything? How does the entire funnel sort of looks like? And then I also help with executing for people. So I notice a lot of people don't have time or struggle to get started. Then I just do it for them, or do 99% of the heavy lifting. But that, of course, it's also more costly. So whatever works for anyone. And I have a lot of free stuff to give, and that should 100% get you started the right way, or at least more effective way. And I'm all about giving those stuff away for free. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, you will definitely get more of those things for free. I post there every day. And I will also start producing more email newsletters and long-form resources for people to build their business more predictably. And I'll be interviewing a lot of experts, or trying to find the people who have successfully built or run a business to share their insights with you as well. So that's it for now.
I love it. No, Tice, ladies and gentlemen, we will put all the links that Tice mentioned in the show notes, all his resources that he can give us. We'll put it there so you can get access to them, as well as, again, link to his profile, and link to as many resources that we can get hold of. So
The one thing I usually recommend is just starting with the free email course. That
Yeah.
just gives an overview of everything on how you can get started and the mistakes you should be avoiding. So I just recommend take that. It's 100% free, and you don't have to pay me anything to afterwards. It's just I want to give that away because I want more people to become, or more experienced designers to become design educators and teach people about the value of design. That's my main thing, because that will eventually lead to me growing in the industry as well. So
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love that and I love that last statement, the value of design.
yeah.
That's something that just resonates. That's our slogan, Thijs, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And I think, I would love to reach back at one point and get you on again and see how things have progressed on LinkedIn and, how the business is doing. And I think, as mentioned, there's so much to dissect from our conversation about, the art of writing. And I would love to see how this year's progressed for yourself and, get you back on the show again. So,
yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you. You ask very good questions. I always had no way to put in my questions, or usually I like it when I ask a lot of questions back, because then I'm learning too. Yeah, I like talking to you. You triggered my points of attention that I really like talking about.
Boosted my confidence there, man.
Yeah.
We should do that offset. You know what I mean? No, pleasure, Thijs. Thank you so much.